So when you ask your questions, make lots of noise. A little bit about me. Dad grew up on a dirt floor, was educated on scholarship, was allowed to come to this country where he enjoyed the American dream. As vivid and as loud and as multicolored as you can imagine, he realized if you worked hard, served your fellow American, helped America, you become an American. And he instilled in me that same confidence that the American dream is real and alive and strong. But there's some in this country, the far left portion of the Democratic Party, who aren't so sure about the American dream anymore. And part of the reason that Lisa, my wife Lisa over there, and I are campaigning is because we know that it's alive and needs to be nurtured. Now, I grew up south of Philadelphia, went to medical school in Philly, went to business school in Philly, married Lisa in Philly, got married in the house we live in now, had a couple children, and I did move to Jersey for a while to make money, came back, and I'm proud of what I was able to accomplish. And I've been arguing for quite a while that while I'm out here talking to folks, answering questions, dealing with the media, we ought to be having debates. And my opponent in this campaign has been ducking debates. And it's pretty clear to me. Either he's healthy as he claims and should be debating, and maybe he doesn't want to because he wants to hide from his far left radical positions, or he's lying about his health. It's one or the other. He's got to come clean. It's insulting to the people of Pennsylvania, to the voters of Pennsylvania, that he's not been out talking to them, answering their questions, answering the questions of media who are asking on behalf of the people in theory, or even answering my questions, because in the debate we tease out what's real and what's not about all the attacks we're lodging at each other. But I'm going to go ahead and pretend, because last night was supposed to be our first debate, and he did not show up. So, what would I have said? I would have argued that there is no more stark difference between candidates than me and John Fetterman. I just gave you our backgrounds real quick. John's story is not far from here, where he was the mayor and didn't seem to get much accomplished from what everyone's telling me. But more importantly, he grew up as an affluent child. His parents have paid for him throughout his life. And I think when you're giving a house by your sister for $1 and you lived a life that you're not actually earning for yourself, it creates some belief systems that are different than someone who's worked every day of their life, as a doctor and trying to be an entrepreneur, trying to do things to educate people to make them world experts on their bodies. And that difference is apparent in some of our policies. So let's just focus on one in particular: crime. Crime is a big problem because lawlessness undermines the very fabric of our society. John Fetterman says we should release 1/3 of all prisoners. He believes strongly that we should not have life sentences for murderers. He's articulated a clear belief that we should decriminalize all drugs, and he wants to get the border, keep it open, and create these sanctuary cities and keep them that way. Now, here's the problem: if you look at the impact of those policies, you have the highest crime or homicide rate ever in Philadelphia. You've got for Philadelphia, which is a very large city, the highest homicide rate of any large city. And you've got cartels that are running human trafficking operations because of the open borders, making money buying fentanyl from China and bringing that into our country, which now has led to 100,000 deaths, mainly of young people. That's 4 times more than have died of COVID under the age of 50. Think about this. Pennsylvania is number 3 in the country in fentanyl deaths. Many parts of our Commonwealth are ravaged by this fentanyl, made possible because we have a weak and open border. I would firmly support closing that border, allowing legal immigration, the kind my father was able to take advantage of. That would also allow us to shut down the cartels bringing fentanyl across the border. I'd also push for safe streets, and I was endorsed unanimously by the FOP, Fraternal Order of Police, because they are really upset about John Fetterman and what he has done to undermine law enforcement. You have to respect people running towards the crisis. He hasn't done that. So that would have been what I would have started my debate with. But we can't do it because he's not going to debate. And I think this is the opportunity that Pennsylvania has always desired, to hear from both sides. For 36 years, we've always heard our Senate candidates debate each other. It is incumbent on him to show up in some capacity. As a physician, I respect how difficult it is to campaign after a stroke and with heart failure or whatever else is going on, because we don't have much access to his records. I don't really care about knowing his specific medical issues, other than what he needs to disclose to Pennsylvanians so they have transparency in his problems. But he does have to come clean about the debate. And I think that Pennsylvania should be holding him accountable, and the clock is ticking. The absentee ballots go out in 2 weeks. There is no excuse for a Pennsylvania voter to have to make a decision not fully knowing how John Fetterman would defend his radical left policies. Those policies extend from crime into inflation, where he would spend recklessly billions more than Joe Biden has, His energy policies are completely out the left field with the Green New Deal support and his claim that fracking is a stain on Pennsylvania. He doesn't support our need to have our values expressed in our schools. He's heavily funded by the teachers union, and he definitely does not agree with me on healthcare, where he thinks we should blow it all up. In fact, Bernie Sanders and he, the two bosom buddies who say they're the two most progressive candidates in America, have argued to blow up private healthcare. Let socialized medicine take care of it. I don't trust the government on a lot of things, especially big things like medicine. It will be a catastrophe for our people. I will fight hard to make sure that I am the next U.S. Senator to ensure that this transformative election is won by a candidate who can represent our Commonwealth with its values honorably, and I'll work hard at it. John Fetterman hasn't had a track record of working hard. He hasn't had a track record of success in these areas, and you can't be a senator just tweeting about it. Yesterday we had a press conference with Pat Toomey, spoke very clearly about his belief that if you cannot debate, you cannot serve in the U.S. Senate. This is not about an infirmity. This is about honesty, integrity, and an ability to articulate in the greatest deliberative body in the world, perhaps, the U.S. Senate, what you believe to be the case. And I think that we are clear on that and clear on John Fetterman's radical left positions that he won't defend. We're in a great spot for the election on the 8th of November, because Pennsylvanians do not like getting hoodwinked, especially by a guy with a hoodie. All right. Questions, burning issues, ask away. I'm here to talk to you. Congratulations on the facility, by the way. And I love the fact you've got signage that gets seen by 30,000 people. That's really cool. So, yes, ma'am. Just speak loudly so everyone can hear.
Sure. Hi, Dr. Oz. As far as the debates, Fetterman says his auditory processing has been affected by the stroke. Are there accommodations that can be made to make it possible for him to debate so he doesn't have just that excuse?
I think so. I think that you could use closed captioning. There are tactics that can make it easier for him to debate, but he doesn't answer phone calls, doesn't respond to our requests. When he claims that we're not serious about this, we're really serious, dead serious about this stuff. We've been reaching out for a long time, so the different media companies. There are 5 major media companies who agreed to host the debates. These are companies that often host the debates that have been going on for 36 years. Now, we've agreed to 5 of them, just because they were all over this Commonwealth, and we trusted the process. They're not my rules. These are the rules these media companies have had. He doesn't respond.
Maybe we could put that out there a little more, that how many attempts have been made to...
We made plenty of noise about this. It doesn't get covered by the media because it's not convenient.
Yeah.
So you have to say it. There's some things we have to own ourselves. You may not think you have power, but if you were to call 10 people today and talk to them about what I just said and ask them to get involved, that has much more influence than articles in big papers. But if you look at the major newspapers now, they're all starting to write about it. The Post-Gazette had a big piece yesterday saying